Hare Krishna, we'll be discussing from Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, verse number 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. जगन्नाथ बलदेव माई की जय, नरसिंह भगवान की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, षड गोस्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय। मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, हरे कृष्ण हरे राम हरे राम। So let's recite the verse first, and then we'll see what we can learn from this verse. यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गः समाचर। यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गः समाचर। Translation by Divine Rishab Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. See, this third canto, in fact, actually in the second canto, I'm sorry, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 49th verse, it says, Durena Hayavaram. That is, Krishna is telling Arjuna to keep all the abominable activities far distant by Buddhi Yoga. Now, Arjuna thinks that Buddhi means intelligence. So he was thinking, so by using intelligence, he should avoid all the abominable activities and thus not fight. So this was the point he came to. Now Krishna is still urging him to fight. So chapter 3 begins with Arjuna's question to clarify this contradictory instruction. See, according to Arjuna, Jnana and work are incompatible. That's what he feels. So this third 3.9 verse, it says that work done as a sacrifice, yajna, for satisfaction of Vishnu is a means of liberation from all bondages. So what is the meaning of yajna? It refers to Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performance. See, there are some references in given the purport of this verse, where in the Vedas, no, yajnamai Vishnu. The purpose of sacrifice is pleasure of Vishnu. That is in the Vedas. Then Vishnu Purana, the goal of Varnashrama is given as satisfaction of Vishnu. Now, Krishna consciousness is a process of yajna as per this verse, because the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajnas or directly serves Lord Vishnu. See, also the Varnashrama institution, no, is also aiming at satisfying Lord Vishnu. Now, the word work in Krishna consciousness. Actually, work in Krishna consciousness is actually an art of doing work which requires expert guidance. So, what is the practical application of this verse? How to perform work in Krishna consciousness? In the purport, Prabhupada says, act diligently and under expert guidance of a devotee. And he says, not at all for sense gratification, that is the mean, but all for Krishna's satisfaction. That is important. And what is the benefit of such action in Krishna consciousness? Number one, freedom from reaction. Number two, while performing, one is in a liberated state. Number three, gradual elevation to love of Krishna. And number four, entrance into the kingdom of God. This is the benefit of being in Krishna consciousness. See, one of the biggest, pitfalls in devotional service is for a living entity to think that whatever service he is performing for the Lord and his spiritual master is actually required by them. Right? We think that Whatever we are doing is actually required by Krishna and required by the spiritual master. For example, see, I may think that I have been tasked to assist in the temple construction because the Lord and spiritual master require such a temple built. Okay. See, what follows next is the growth of my false ego. Because I may start thinking that if I did not perform that service, Krishna and Guru may be bereft of my contributions. So this mentality is very, very easy to build up in our being, correct? And after a while, what will happen? We begin think that our life's goal is to perform service of any kind for the Lord because we are the chosen ones. We feel that we are the ones who is chosen to do this contribution to the temple. That's why in Bhagavatam 5:38, the priests, who were doing yajna, they offered a very nice prayer to Rishabdev. They said, all of life's goals and opulences are directly, self-sufficiently, unceasingly, and unlimitedly increasing in you at every moment. Indeed, you are the unlimited enjoyment and blissful existence itself. As far as we are concerned, O Lord, we are always after material enjoyment. You do not need all these sacrificial arrangements, but they are meant for us so that we may be benedicted by your Lordship. All these sacrifices are performed for our fruitive results, and they are not actually needed by you. This is what the priests are praying to Rishabdev. Now, Srila Prabhupada's explanation of this point in his very wonderful purport is a very timely reminder that of what a devotee should think and feel. That is, his attitude should be what? When he is performing devotional service. So the purport, Prabhupada says, being self-sufficient, the Supreme Lord does not need huge sacrifices. Fruitive activity for a more opulent life is for those who desire such material opulence for their own interest. Correct? So that's why yajnatat karmo nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. 3.9 we were discussing, right? So if we do not act to satisfy the Supreme Lord, we engage in Maya's activities. Prabhupada says we may construct a gorgeous temple and spend thousands of dollars. But such a temple is not required by Krishna. The Lord has many millions of temples for his residence. And he does not need our attempt. Okay. Very surprising, no? So he does not require opulent activity at all. So such engagement is meant for our own benefit. If we engage our money in constructing gorgeous temple, we are freed from the reactions of our endeavors. This is for our benefit. In addition, if we attempt to do something nice for Krishna, he is pleased with us and gives us his benedictions. See, the gorgeous arrangements are not for the Lord's sake, but for our own. This we have to understand. If we somehow receive blessings and benedictions from the Lord, our consciousness becomes purified and we can become eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. So the next time when we offer our time, when we offer our money, our effort, our blood and sweat to Krishna, right? Remember, it is not for them. It is for the spiritual improvement of our own small, tiny, puny selves, and not for the Lord. See, in India, there's a very common saying, Karma kiye ja, phal ki apeksha mat kar. It means do your work without any expectation of fruits of that action. So to the common man, this saying, it sounds very wise and powerful. But upon cross questioning, we find that no one is able to provide answers to these two questions. What is that? First one, they say do your karma, prescribed duties. But for whose satisfaction? Karma kiya ja, right? So for whose satisfaction? First one. The second is, how does one benefit by doing their prescribed duties? So these are the two questions they could not answer. Nobody can answer, right? So in Bhagavad Gita 3.8, Krishna mentions, one cannot even maintain one's physical body without physical work. So everybody is forced to do work, to do that prescribed duty. As soon as one is born within this material world, right, they have to do. So for this matter, even sleeping is considered as working. If we think we start sleeping. So when we perform any work, there is sacrifice involved. For example, when the lady is at home, They are preparing prasad, bhoga, right? They are sacrificing their time, which they could have utilized to speak to their friends and then eat outside. They are sacrificing. That is good. These are not prescribed duties. And when we teach, the second point is when we teach our children shlokas, right? That means we are sacrificing our time, which we could have utilized to watch television. Another third point is when we go to attend Namahatta programs, right? We are sacrificing our personal time, which we could have used to spend with our family or some recreation. So this is very important, right? When we perform any work, there is a sacrifice involved. So Krishna in 3.14 of Bhagavad Gita says that yajna, sacrifice, is born out of prescribed duties. So the Krishna is warning us in 3.9. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So the first point to realize is that we have to work for the satisfaction of Krishna and not ourselves. And as part of our prescribed duty, we have to bring our children very nicely in Krishna conscious atmosphere. This is what we have to learn. This is our responsibility. And for this reason, we should be very careful in executing our prescribed duty, ensuring that we satisfy Krishna as it is, as just now we saw in the examples, right? The second important point mentioned in the translation to verse number 3.15 is that the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. So Krishna himself says that he is personally present in acts of sacrifice. That means when performing prescribed duties, Krishna is present. So Prabhupada, in his translated purport, very nicely guides us by mentioning that the conditioned souls must try to follow the process of yajna by becoming Krishna conscious. So even those who have not followed this Vedic injunctions must adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness. And that will take the place of performing our Vedic yajnas or karmas. So if we perform our prescribed duties with Krishna in the center, because Krishna is himself present in his prescribed duties, he will guide us from within. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, 10.10 says, verse Bhagavad Gita says, seed verse. So by giving us intelligence to come back to Godhead. So the act remains the same. Whether we go to work or anything, only the consciousness changes from satisfying ourselves to satisfying Krishna. And this change, it will give us the greatest benefit any person can get in this middle world by just performing the prescribed duty. See, while reading the 5th canto, 3rd chapter, I came across very nice, instructive, and sincere prayers offered by the priests at Maharaj Nabi's sacrifice. After the sacrifice was over, Lord Vishnu appeared. And somehow at the end, the priests, they felt ashamed for conducting such a very gorgeous sacrifice just for Maharaj to have a son. So they prayed to Lord, right, in 5.3, 7, and 8. They say, we have engaged in your worship with many things and have offered sacrifices unto you. But we think that there is no need for so many arrangements to please your Lordship. Now, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, in a big sacrificial ceremony, there may be many things accumulated to satisfy the Supreme Lord. But if there is no devotion, if there is no attachment or love for the Lord, arrangements are all useless. The Lord is complete in himself, correct? And if he does not need anything from us, right? Then the point is, then what should we give? If we offer him a little water, flower, tulsi leaf, he will accept. Patram Purusham Param Toyam, right? Bhakti, devotional service is the main way to satisfy the Supreme Lord Krishna. It is not a question of arranging huge sacrifices. So the priests, they were regretful, thinking that they were not on the path of devotional service and that their sacrifice was not pleasing to the Lord. So in the purport of Bhagavatam 8.1.14, Prabhupada says, there he refers to this 3.9 verse, Bhagavad Gita 3.9, where Lord Krishna advises, Yajnatat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bhandana. That is, work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one into this material world. So generally, everyone is attracted to hard labor for becoming happy in this middle world, right? But although these various activities are going on all over the world simply for the sake of happiness, right? Unfortunately, only problems are being created for such fruitive activities. So it is advised that active persons engage in activities of Krishna consciousness, which are called yajna, because then they will gradually come to the platform of devotional service. See, there's a general misconception that performing our occupational duties is material activity. And we can avoid that to perform the higher duty, that is devotional service. But scriptures are very clear that performing our prescribed duty is indeed devotional service, provided we perform them with the consciousness that it is a sacrifice done to please the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Krishna clarifies in 3.9. So there is no question of whether we should do our duties. Correct. There is no option. It has to be performed. So anything we do as sacrifice to Krishna or Lord Vishnu, it satisfies him. So when he is pleased, entire universe, including ourselves, become pleased. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtam. Sacrifice done not refer only to yajnas and homas, but it also includes performing our daily duties, our responsibilities at home, our work, right? According to our varna and ashrama. So when everyone in this world, including the leaders, they perform their duties with care, the whole world will be pleased. But what are we seeing? Total chaos. Prithu Maharaj, while instructing his citizens on the subject of how to please the Supreme Lord, he speaks a very beautiful verse, 4:31-26, that reveals how valuable it is to the whole world when someone performs devotional service. Very nice point, right? He's telling how valuable it is to the whole world when someone performs devotional service. So if I perform devotional, it is very good for the whole world. How is it? So in the translation says, the Supreme Law, Personality Godhead, is the master and enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. And he is the supreme spiritual master as well. So he's telling, Prathumara is telling to citizens, all of you citizens on the surface of the globe who have a relationship with me and are worshipping him by dint of your occupational duties, are bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, O my citizens, I thank you. Prathumara is telling, you are doing devotional service to the Lord. That means you are actually bestowing your mercy upon me. Therefore, my citizens, I thank you, he is telling. So here Prithu Maharaj unveils a few powerful points. First point, the Supreme Lord Hari is a master and enjoyer of all sacrifices. That is Yajna, that is the first point, right? Enjoyer of all sacrifices. He is the master. Second is, by performing our occupational duties continuously, nirantaram, and with great determination, dridhavarta, we can worship the Supreme Lord. And third, such great souls who perform their duties immaculately and continuously, nirantaram, they distribute their mercy upon everyone, including the leader or authority. So the point to understand is, how is it that when I perform my occupational duty or devotional service, how come others are getting the mercy? Very beautiful point, right? First point is, when someone performs devotional service for or his occupational duty, he does not have the time to think about harming us. Correct? So this way, we need not fear any harm from them. We can stay fearless and peaceful in their presence. This is the first point. The second is, when he sincerely does his devotional service, he reminds us of Krishna. And when we get reminded of Krishna, our mind becomes calm, cool, and composed. This is the second point when someone is doing devotional service. The third is, by his devotional service, he purifies every person and every place around him. Because devotional service, Krishna's name, fame, they're all Jagat Pavitram. So the purity, it rubs on everyone around him. And even if we have some evil thoughts in our mind, eventually we get purified in their presence. So this way, we get purified without even taking external efforts to purify ourselves. So these are some of the ways by which we get benefited in the presence of a devotee without their knowledge or even without our knowledge. So it is very important that we thank everyone who perform devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. So whenever we see any person chanting or doing offering boga or doing a mangalarati, anything, no, it's for our benefit. It's definitely for, but it's for our benefit. So this is what Prathu Maharaj very humbly and sweetly thanks all his citizens for performing their occupations to please the Supreme Lord. So this reminds us of a statement that Srila Prabhupada often used to tell his disciples. Thank you for being Krishna conscious. Prabhupada always says, thank you for being Krishna conscious because it benefits everyone. So my Guru Maharaj, many times he would say, never underestimate the power of devotional service. Many times we take devotional service and devotees for granted. And therefore we are not able to thank them for being devotees. In fact, see, so many times we say so many horrible things to devotees. Behave offensively, speak harshly, and even defame them, right? But most of them accept it silently and don't retaliate. Just imagine, if we behave the same way to a materialist, what would be our condition? We would land up either in the hospital or directly in the Smashan Ghat. So following the example of Prathu Maharaj, let us appreciate the broad heart of the devotees and also the living entities around us and thank them for being what they are, rather than provoke them for what they are not. So now, summarizing it, sacrifice means working for the satisfaction of Krishna, number one. Second, sacrifice means the work becomes a source of freedom instead of being a source of burden. Three, sacrifice means that our activities become pleasing to everyone. Four, sacrifice means an activity that saves our bhakti and it is not a ritual. Five, sacrifice means non-envious attitude. Six, sacrifice means focusing on the real purpose of glorifying Krishna. And seven, sacrifice means sincerity. And the eighth one is sacrifice means sacrificing our pride and ego. At this point, we can see in the pastime of King Prithu, Brahmaji finally says that King Prithu has to make peace with Indra. See, we'll be thinking that why should we be friendly with a person who has been so much of a source of disturbance? Indra was a disturbance to King Prithu, right? For that 100th horse sacrifice. So Brahmaji says, you are both coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are both parts and parcels of Krishna. Please make peace with each other and have friendly relations and do not harass. This is how we must live in this world. Many people will harass us. That is in Bhagavatam 11:737, beautiful verse. Bhuter akramanyopi dhiro daiva vaishyanugahaihi tad vidvan na chalen margat anvashiksham kshiter vritam. A sober person, even when harassed by other living beings, should understand that his aggressors are acting helplessly under the control of God. And thus, he should never be distracted from progress on his own path. This rule I have learned from the earth. So this is the best lesson for us to take even when we live in this world. Sacrifice in one level is in terms of activities. The second level of sacrifice is how we sacrifice our ego, how we sacrifice our pride and envy. That is more difficult actually because it is subtle. See, it is very easily hidden and very difficult to catch, right? So Prithu Maharaj, he could have become very angry with Indra. But when Brahmaji asked him to be friendly with Indra, he followed the instructions of Brahmaji. Prithu Maharaj is a plenary portion of Krishna and Brahmaji is his devotee. But as this verse tells us, one must act under the expert guidance of a devotee. And Prithu Maharaj did that. He listened to the instructions of Lord Brahma and went to make peace with Indra. Now Indra goes back to Swargaloka, happy that he is the only one who attached the century. Right? Attained the century, right? Prithu Maharaj, in spite of missing the century, is very peaceful because he knows that it is not the externalities that matter. Brahmaji, the exalted personality, has given his blessings and the king became peaceful, abiding by his instructions. That is how we become peaceful in this world. Please understand one very good point. We can make it as a slogan, right? Devotees do not compete with each other. Devotees do not compete with each other. Devotees serve each other. So when they serve each other, they never see bad in each other. We may have differences of opinion, but we agree to disagree. That's why Bhagavatam 7:13-42, very beautiful verse. Naham nindena chastaumi swabhava vishamam janam ete sham shreya asha se utekatmyam mahatmani. It says, different people have different mentalities. If everybody is the same mentality, there is no problem, right? Prime Minister Modi would not have any difficulty. Everybody is the same position. In fact, in each house also is very different. So different people have different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I only desire their welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, शील प्रभुपाद की जय। टैगोर वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु भयेवच पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंतकोटि वैष्णव। Hare Krishna. Thank you for this opportunity to glorify Krishna and purify ourselves. If you have any questions or any point to share, please go. Hare Krishna.